The first of, all right, in case that didn't start it. Greetings, everybody. This is Greg. This is the first live show I am doing on YouTube, so I'm not totally sure if this is how this is going to work. Basically, I'm going to be testing to see initially if I'm the first. Okay, I'm hearing myself, so that, all right. I am going to be answering some questions in this, as well as explaining why the test show last night did not go off as I had planned. Now, to explain about last night and even why I'm here at home today doing this show, after I got off work, I went to get the gas station to get gas for the car. And one of the things when you're in winter, everybody be careful if you're walking through the slush and so forth. Maybe wipe your feet and so forth before you go in a store, because I slipped and fell on my ass. And I've fallen on my ass before, but it didn't hurt like this. I landed on my wallet. I don't know if there was kryptonite in my wallet or something, but whew, I could barely walk today. But I was doing the show last night when my girlfriend called on Skype, because when on her way to work, she had gotten stuck in a snowdrift in the middle of the road type of thing. 3 foot of snow or 3 inches of snow or whatnot. The car was buried in snow, and it made me feel helpless, because it was she was almost at work and there was nothing I could do. Literally nothing I could do. Which in a way it does lead into this rant that I want to do initially, that being on this subject of spiritual atheism or spiritual agnosticism, the whole spiritual shit in general, because it's a bunch of new age horse shit. The thing is, these people want to talk about this spiritual or divine or higher consciousness or whatever the fuck they want to call their new age term of God. It's a crock. Because one of the things that gets me with people like this and the ideas of this nature is how completely self-centered this is. Now, I will be the first to admit, if there would be magical fucking beings that could do a damn thing for people, last night I would have been looking to utilize such to be, all right, magical fucking beings, get my girlfriend's car out of the snow. Magically help her. Because that's where my interest is. That's who I care about. The thing is, I will also be the first to admit, for as much as I was concerned about her safety and her, there are children that are dying from lack of food, from lack of health care, that are suffering with diseases, that are living in abusive families, that are being molested, all of which should take precedence and priority over someone's being stuck in the snow type of thing. For as much as you can have concern about that and for their safety in the grand scheme of things, it's not about if some magical being is going to do anything, then I'll be damned. Why is it not doing something for children? Why is it not doing something to address the bigger issues? Not like I said, this doesn't negate what I felt last night. In a sense, the powerlessness and the desire of, I wanted to be able to use the term bilocate and just magically get myself to where she is. Because that's where my heart is. That's where my interest is. I understand people have their desires for their loved ones and to like getting another house or getting a better car or getting a better job. I get that. I get it that those are things that interest you. But recognize if you're trying to act like you have a ticket to a magical viewer or magical force that is out there, then damn it, why isn't it not doing anything for bigger, broader issues than just your shit? It really makes no sense. Honestly. But I had one of the things I want to talk about is the aspect of, I did mention in my video, Losing My Faith, where I had said back when I was 16 to 24, that I used the term of the divine, of what has guided me. And I used that term largely because I was rooted in Christianity, in the Christian crap. So that is the term that I had applied to it. Looking at it in hindsight, I look at it now and regard it as, to use the term, a projection of my own ego, a projection of myself. The different things that it had said that I felt like the aspect when I was fooling around with a girlfriend, the cool it for now. Could there have been some magical whatnot? Yeah, there could have been. I can't say there wasn't. But what is more likely is the aspect, and I'm not real big on psychic ability either, but that would be another aspect of maybe just my own psyche was kicking in and saying, hold it. That because something that would be within your own head and within your own human abilities would be caring about protecting you because you are. I don't know. And because I don't definitively know, I can't definitively say that it was this or that, because that is an argument from ignorance. If you don't know, you don't know. You can't say, I don't know, so it's this. It doesn't work. Because this also gets into the aspect of the missing time that I had and what is termed the UFO, the alien abductions. Do I know that they were that? No. The experiences that I had mimic that very much and fit what is termed the classic alien abduction story. However, does that prove that that's what it was? No, it doesn't. And for as real as that it seemed to me, it's not about being able to say to you or to anyone that that is evidence of that. It's not. Because I can't even prove it to me. I can't even validate that I wasn't mistaken. So to say that that is evidence of aliens or whatnot, it's not. Your personal experiences are not evidence of a damn thing. Because you would first have to be able to prove that your personal experiences were not tainted by your ideas of what you wanted to see, what you wanted to believe. Because those that have these, and I can also talk about the like near-death experiences, because I had a few of those that were weird. The thing is, they could and very most likely were reflective of where my mental state was at the time, where my head was at the time, what I believed at the time, all of it. There is absolutely no evidence to support that there is an afterlife or that there is some god or genie in a bottle. It just doesn't hold up. Now, the thing is, the aspect of near-death experiences, these people want to talk about their different experiences. And this also goes into the aspect of personal experiences, because there was a story not too long ago of, it was a while back, that this father and son, the son supposedly was in a coma and went to heaven and saw Jesus and all that happy jazz. The thing is, it's come out recently, the kid admitted it didn't happen. They made it up. That is typical. Christians will make up bullshit stories to try and validate their stupid beliefs. And what's the most disgusting of all with that is there are people that, even when these people admit they made it up, that they will still look for excuses as to, this was magical, this was something, because they're so married to the idea of supernatural horse shit that even when the truth comes out that it was made up, that it isn't real, didn't happen, they will still try and find ways to be validating this bullshit story that has been admitted it's a bullshit story. It just doesn't make, I can't wrap my head around it. But what it really shows is people's desire to validate their own ideas, their own perceptions. The thing is, there are different things that I had mentioned, and to go back to the divine issue for a bit, the aspect of where I had, what I had perceived. The thing is, there was one point when I was, and this was about when I was in my 30s or so, that a friend of mine had come up with what he termed a deprivation tank, and he simulated it with me in his hot tub, that he matched the temperature of the hot tub to my body temperature, and I floated in this hot tub. And what I heard very clearly was a female voice, and it was weird because it was just him and me. The hot tub was out on his deck. His girlfriend was upstairs asleep, but he was outside with me. I was floating in his hot tub, and I heard this female voice say, "Why do you look for us outside of you? We are in you, around you. We are you." Now, if that is what is termed this divine shit, it's a projection of your own self, your own ego. Because if it is a part of you, then that is why it cares about what you are interested in and everything around you, because it is you. There's no reason to think that magical beings are out there giving a shit about your life, my life, the political affairs of our world, the current state of affairs with our planet. It doesn't, there's no evidence that magical shit gives a damn. But there's also, I face this a lot, and I hear this frequently, the "why am I so angry?" Depends on what you're talking about. Depends on when you're referring to my being angry. There are things that piss me off, especially with this spiritual or divine or whatnot horseshit. What pisses me off with that is the aspect of children that are not being taken care of by magical beings. That if magical beings exist, why aren't they helping children? Because it's more of what would be termed a moral outrage than it is just blind anger. I very rarely have just blind anger. My anger is at a topic or at a person, either what they're saying or what they're doing. There's a reason for it. It's not just anger for the sake of anger. And a lot of anger that I project is at Christianity and Christians in general, because the horse shit regarding Christianity, it boggles my mind how much these people want to act as if their thoughts and their way is the only way, that everyone has to bow to their wishes, bow to their ideas, or else, even though their ideas are steeped in their own sadistic fantasies and they don't match up with. Christians will say they get their ideas from Judaism, but they don't. The truth of the matter is, like the interview that I did with the expert on Judaism that I'll be doing more of in that vein, that first interview, he had established that the angels and so forth don't have free will. So in that regard, there can't be a rebellion of angels. They can't rebel because they don't have choice. They can only do what they were made to do. So in that regard, the idea of choosing between a God and a devil, it doesn't work. That makes it not a mono anything, but rather a pantheon. It makes it all about you. And it's not about the aspect of this duality horseshit, because that also ties in with Zoroastrianism, which was after Judaism. It was around the 7th century BC that Zoroaster put forward the idea of an all-good God. Prior to that, both good and evil were attributed to the deity type of thing, the God figure. It wasn't a matter of multiple beings. That's not monotheism, for one. If you have more than one being buying for power or buying for your affections, then you're a pantheon. You're not mono. Mono means one, not multiple, especially with this aspect of a trinity, which also doesn't wash with Judaism. So Christians can't try and say that they get their ideas from Judaism when they're taking so many left turns from the ideas of Judaism. And I find it ironic how a lot of Christians want to act as if the ideas of Judaism are rooted in like animal sacrifice and so forth, when that's simply not the case. But I'll be going into more on that with my interview of the expert on Judaism, Mark Powers. But there were a few questions that were asked yesterday. And also, when I was at work, one of the things that they're regularly out front and so forth is things like Teen Challenge. And I typically don't say anything to these people, but there was one point I had asked the one person, isn't it kind of counterproductive to be out here trying to get people to give money when the truth of the matter is most people, myself included, don't carry cash. I use my card. I use my debit card. So it's one I very rarely have cash in my wallet, even if I would want to, and I wouldn't for something like that. Because both of the people I was talking to are former drug addicts, and I have no animosity towards those that have had addictions with drugs, because it's just one of, if that's your choice, if that's what you choose to engage in, then be aware it's your choice, and the one that will make the choices to stop doing that stuff is you. It's not about what a magical being is going to do. And I was trying to explain this to this one guy initially, where he had said about like 6 months ago, he was smoking meth and he was homeless and so forth. And now he's in this program and he believes in Jesus and all that happy jazz. And I was pointing out to him some of the things, the inconsistencies between Judaism and Christianity. And he had nothing as far as, he didn't know anything as far as his own Bible to try to go at and combat someone like me. And that's the bottom line. Even when his friend came back over, neither of them could compete with my knowledge of their own Bible. I could nail, and I did nail them on different aspects with their own Bible, where their ideas are rooted more in the ideas of Paul rather than Jesus. They wanted to act like all they have to do is believe, but I pointed out, Jesus said, you go by your works. If you don't believe me for the work's sake. He was interested in what you do, not what you think. It was Paul that taught what you think, not what you do. And I pointed out to them, it doesn't matter if you believe in a god, a tooth fairy, a magical unicorn, whatever. It's not going to prevent you from using drugs. It's not going to make it that you don't. The one that will decide whether or not you use drugs is you. It's the same with my smoking. There is no magical being that is going to be stopping me from picking up a cigarette. There is, by the same token, there is none that's putting it in my mouth. It is all my choice. And the same is true with drugs, with alcohol, with whatever your vice happens to be. You can believe in whatever wacky shit you want. Just be aware that the one making the choices, the one doing things that will either further your not using drugs or not taking whatever vice you had, or doing so, it's up to you. And if you're looking, and where I see the danger in this with people is if they're looking to a magical being to do this for them, then they're not going to be looking at doing it for themselves. They're looking at something else having control. And that is where I see it as, not only is it wishful thinking, it is passing the buck of their own responsibility regarding their own life and their own choices and what they do. And that is what really comes down to the core issue with these people, is they want to act as if something else, something magical, is going to be doing it for them, because they don't want to be a mature adult and do it for themselves. But one of the things I wish I could see is if any questions are coming in, and at the moment I am not sure how to see whether or not I have questions coming in. I know I had gotten some yesterday, and one of my subscribers, one of the most vocal of my subscribers, Brandon, always asks about the multiverse and the multi-universe idea, which also ties in with the idea of parallel universes. And he regularly asks people, what do you think about this? The truth of the matter is, to me, there's not enough evidence to prove that such exists. It's an interesting idea. And I definitely find it very interesting, especially with people like Mukeo Kaku, where he talks about different things like this as well. The thing is, without being able to prove that a multiverse exists, I don't see where it matters. Even if such would exist, even if there would be a multiverse where there's multiple universes and so forth, or even parallel universes, without being able to definitively say yes or no to whether or not this is real, it's an interesting idea. It's great for science fiction. Science fiction can have a heyday with it. The thing is, I don't see where, for the practical person in their mundane life, that it would really matter all that much. Even if there would be to use the term of an energy form that would live on after the physical body dies. It's an interesting fantasy, but the big problem I have with that idea, even if it would exist, is people would put more of their focus on what's going to happen after they're dead, after their physical life is over. And they'll focus and fantasize about that, and they won't take action and do everything they can to make their life today, here and now, everything it can be. It's also along the same lines of this not speaking ill of the dead. Why? They're fucking dead. If you want to say nice things to people, why not try doing it while they're still alive and can appreciate it? After someone is dead is not the time to be going around and saying nice things about them because they can't appreciate it. They're not around. So in that regard, the idea of there could be some kind of, to use the term, afterlife, but the fantasies of it here and now take away from what people are actually doing. Not to mention with Christians, it leads into this death wish type of mentality where they look at it as it almost seems so many of them are wanting the end of the world type of shit. They're constantly talking, a lot of them are constantly talking about either this end of the world or the rapture or some event that would bring about the end of humanity. Well, if humanity is going to be coming to an end, then it doesn't really matter if there's an afterlife or not, because humanity's done. I don't necessarily have as negative of a view as George Carlin did that humanity is circling the drain, but I also agree that with what Mukeo Kaku had said, that we're in a class 0 society, and that a class 1 would be a one world society where we've learned as a people to utilize all of the resources on the planet and basically gotten away from fossil fuels and things of that nature, gone more green technology. The thing is that the transition from 0 to 1 is the most dangerous. That if a species isn't going to survive, it's that transition where they will die out, where they'll kill themselves. And that, I feel, is interesting to consider. But the idea of like the multiverse and other things of that nature, it makes for good science fiction. But in the practical world, I don't see where it matters all that much. Now, one of the things Brandon had also asked is, what are your views on biological immortality using science and technology? Now, this I find interesting because there is what is termed the immortal jellyfish. That there's the jellyfish that seemingly is immortal. That if it is getting old or injured, it can revert to an earlier stage in its life and repair itself and be back at that earlier stage. Now, if we would be able, through science and so forth, to do this, yeah, it would greatly improve and enhance human life. However, there is a downside to it. The planet is already overpopulated. We're at 7 to 8 billion people on this planet. There's a large number, at least 1 million children a year starve to death. We would first, before tackling the immortality aspect, we would first have to wipe out hunger, poverty. There are other things, other issues that should take precedence over immortality. Because if we just get immortality without having a solution for hunger, poverty, war, then what good really is the immortality if we're still primitive and barbaric in how we're acting, in our behaviors towards each other and even towards the planet? So in that regard, like I said, I find it an interesting idea, but there are things that need to be taken care of and addressed before that. And he asked, what's your view on people who think it's impossible? It's pretty much the same as those who think it's possible or impossible. Is there are other things that we need to focus on before doing the aspect of immortality, because it really, there's a great deal that needs to be addressed with things like hunger that aren't being addressed, at least from what I'm seeing. Same as those who think the ideas that, in a sense, I understand the desire to not die. I mean, that really is what it gets into, is people's own desire to not experience death and to not, because, and this can get into the people's fear of death and even the idea of the afterlife, because it really, that is where these ideas of an afterlife, a God, a this, a that, it is all centered around people's own fear of their own mortality. And that is what I think a lot, even the religious, are trying to find a way around their own mortality. But the truth of the matter is, even if I could be immortal today, type of thing, I wouldn't want it. With the way things are in the world, with as screwed up as humans are in their thinking and in their behavior, no, we're not ready for that. The aspect of my one day, my death, so what? I mean, really. It's one, I enjoyed the TV series, The Highlander, but there were some interesting ideas that were brought up in that TV series. One being the aspect of, as an immortal, you would be outliving your friends, your family, everyone you care about. They're all going to die. And there isn't thing one you can do about it. And that in and of itself could, in a sense, drive one to madness over time. Because the aspect, and like last night with my girlfriend being stranded in the snow, the powerlessness, the fear, the anger, the wanting to be able to do something and not being able to. Taken on the aspect of even an extreme with something like being immortal. Yes, a person would be less inclined to care about their own welfare, their own safety, because it would be, yeah, unless I lose my head, I'm coming back. I'll be fine. So in a sense, if it would mean saving somebody and taking a bullet or jumping in front of a train or whatnot, or whatever it would be, I can take it and it'll hurt like a son of a bitch for a little while, but I'll come back and be perfectly fine. It's a nice fantasy. And it would mean that a person could go through their life, in a sense, acting like a superhero and doing things that are heroic to try and help others or save others, like going into a burning building and so forth, because fuck it, who cares if I get burned? I'll be fine. If I'm not losing my head, I'm not going to, there's really, in the grand scheme of things, nothing's going to happen to me. I'll have physical discomfort for a little while, but the good that I'll be able to do in that, from that, will outweigh the suffering that I would feel. So be it. Those type of ideas, yes, you could do a lot of good, but there's a lot of bad you could also do. Just because you can use something, an ability in fiction for a good end, you can also use that same thing for a negative end. It is all in how you're choosing to use it. And that is part of what I get at when I attack Christian ideas. What I'm more going after is the harm that these ideas can do in the long run in society, that if people would and do believe this bullshit. Because I had seen a post before I started this show today on Facebook of it said insane Christian woman beats, stomps, so forth, a Jewish woman saying you have to believe in Jesus. It's like, yeah, that's it. Show the love of your Jesus. Without even addressing the aspect of how their Jesus was a fucking failure. Just going by the actions of these people. And these Christians being, well, why are you angry? Well, look at what they're fucking doing. What do you want me to be doing with people that are going around beating up and stomping on someone that's Jewish just because they don't believe in your Jesus? You want me to be giggling? Ha ha ha! They were beating him and kicking him. Ha! That's so fucking funny. That's not me. That might be how you act. That might be how you treat things. That's not me. And if you want to try and come at me and say, see, you're so angry. Well, look at the situation. Look at what I'm angry about. You assholes don't want to do that because it would put a big niche, a big problem in your, he's so angry, because you're not looking at why. You're not looking at what is it that has pissed him off. Instead, you want to look at only a piece of it. You want to take the anger out of context. Yes, I have a temper. Yes, I can get fucking hot. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a goddamn reason. Just because you believe something doesn't mean you have the right to be going around hurting others that don't. And that is what really gets at with this Christian horse shit, is think like me or else. And then they wonder why someone like me gets angry. It's called moral outrage. Right, or in your terms, righteous indignation. You don't like that. You don't want to look at it that way because that doesn't suit your purpose. It doesn't suit your agenda. I don't care about your religion. I don't care about your agenda. What I look at is what is going on in the real world. Now, some could say and ask, why do I go after Christianity and not so much Islam with things like ISIS? Largely, I don't talk about that because that's not in, to use the term, my neck of the woods. If ISIS and that type of shit was more in the country that I live in, that it would be things that I'm seeing on a daily basis or a regular basis, you can goddamn guarantee that I would be addressing that a lot more, because it would be basically the squeaky wheel gets the grease. But by the same token, if it would be something that I would be seeing, I wouldn't so much be doing YouTube videos about it as I would be going after the people themselves. Because if I see something that is wrong, especially if I see someone trying to hurt someone else, I'm not going to sit back and say nothing. I will take action, either myself getting involved to stop it, or going to what steps can I take socially, getting the police involved or whatnot, depending on the time frame, depending on if I'm at my job. Because if I'm at my job, even though I might want to react in one way, I can't because of the job type of thing. So in that regard, my reaction is different when I'm at work versus when I'm on my time. But it's also one, like, there was a story I had come across of a woman that was raped in, I think it was California or whatnot, and it was on the street and people were walking fucking by. I can't imagine that type of thing. I don't go through life angry, but it's one, the best analogy for my anger is the Hulk. And it can come that quick. If I see something that is an outrage, or I see or something happen, like when I'm throwing a truck, I've had boxes hit me in the face. I had a microwave hit me on the head, because how these idiots are when they load the damn truck, they put objects that are way heavier than they should up at a 6-foot height, so that it could potentially fall and hit someone on the head, which I see as downright stupidity. Now, just for all of you to know, when that happened, one of the guys that was on the line unloading, he had said he heard the goddamn it outside the truck on the line, because I yelled. But I also grabbed whatever had just hit me and I threw it. And that's my typical knee-jerk reaction. I don't care what it is. If it hits me, it's flying. And the thing is, one of the other guys had said, yeah, Greg just got hit in the head with the microwave. Now, I had a manager the next day, when I mentioned it to him, they were like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. It pissed me off than anything. But I've had that, where I've had times throwing the truck where my glasses get knocked off my face. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's one, they're bent, because they get knocked off my face, and boxes will bend them, twist them, so forth. Haven't had them break yet. But it's also one of, it's just things happen. And my getting angry with that is sometimes part of the job. But that is a flash of momentary anger at a situation. I don't go through my life angry. In fact, I go through in a more jovial, more lighthearted type of manner. It is just largely, when you see me doing videos, I'm addressing a subject, or I'm addressing a bit of stupidity that I've encountered, or something that's lit a fire under my ass to motivate me to talk about a subject. So it's one, there are things that when I'm doing a video, you're getting a snapshot of me, but it's when I'm addressing a particular subject. And one of the things that does get me is people that want to ride one video, be it the video I did on the pentagram necklace or the videos on Jesus is Lucifer or Jesus is Satan, shit like that. I see people almost riding one video, and it makes me wonder, what the fuck? Are these idiots completely oblivious to the fact that I have other videos? I really don't understand why these people, if they want to criticize or whatnot, or they want to try and say anything to constructively and so forth, why they only go on one video, why they only look at one video. Because one of the things that was mentioned when in the interview that I did with Mark Powers, one person had said it was nice to hear you laugh. And that is, yes, I understand that is a rarity with me, because a lot of times I'm not doing interviews. I haven't done many interviews on my YouTube channel, but it's also when I'm doing an interview or a debate, it's not necessarily a joking type of situation. I'm not necessarily trying to be or looking for things that are more humorous. Because for me, I'm not a comedian. If I say something that is funny, you can rest assured it wasn't planned. I may come up with a one-liner here and there that can be amusing, but it's not something that I'm going to be working out and planning this whole comedy crap. No, that ain't me. I'm more philosophical in mindset. I'm more of, to use the term philosopher, but I'm interested in hearing people's input. But also, if you're only going to be looking at one video, you're not going to be getting the full picture of me. And that was one of the things, and especially if you're going to come at me and attack me and accuse me of being angry, typically, yeah, you're going to get both barrels. And there is something else that I wanted to mention, because I recognize some of the calendars and so forth, they're a bit at a distance because of my camera. It's not necessarily the best. And this one in particular, from a distance, it might have looked, when it was hanging up on the wall back there, it might have looked as if she was naked. She's not. And in case anybody is curious as to her name, in a sense, there you go. But she's not naked. She's wearing a swimsuit. That's people that want to bitch about the, why do you, and I had one person say about, why do you have those up? And I was, what, calendars? Yeah, why the hell would you have a calendar up? But that was on my Jesus versus Paul video, where the person, it's almost as if they thought I was a Christian, which clearly they don't know me very well to be. And I recognize videos like that can give people the wrong idea, that Christians can find that and look at it more as it is someone talking about and giving a preaching type of thing. I had used the name a long time ago of Pastor Iblis. And the reason I used that was I came across the interview with Bill Moyers did with Joseph Campbell on his book, The Power of Myth. And it's a very good series of interviews. It was like 6 interviews, I think. And it's something that if you have a chance, an opportunity to check out those interviews, Joseph Campbell mentioned some very interesting things regarding religion, myth, and the storytelling that is part of religion and myth. The thing is, in that, I think it was part 5, Love and the Goddess, where Bill Moyers had asked Joseph Campbell about love. And he wanted to talk about love. And it's one that's a very big subject. And it starts off with Joseph Campbell talking about the story of Tristan and Isolde. That I think that I'm thinking Tristan was the male, and Isolde was the female, but the one was a knight, and she was betrothed to this other king, and her aunt or some relative had made this potion that was to be a love potion, so that her and her fiance or person she was betrothed to could drink this and they would fall in love with each other, type of thing, magically. Well, these 2 kids on the journey to her going to who she was betrothed to, they thought it was wine and they drank it and they fell in love. And when her aunt or whatever found out, she said to him, you know what you have done? You have drunk your death. And he said, if by my death you mean my undying love for this woman, that is my life. If by my death you mean the fate I will suffer if we are discovered, meaning he will be killed, I accept that. He said, if by my death you mean the unending fires of hell, I accept that too. That is love. That is real love. That was where the idea of choosing your own lover came from. Because prior to that, marriages were arranged. The idea that you would find and you would be the heart loves who the heart loves. That wasn't around. In a sense, that didn't exist. Marriages were set up. They were arranged. There was a shift in consciousness, or a paradigm shift. And that story was, whether it was actually historical or not, it is a good metaphor for that. But by the same token, Bill Moyers had asked him about the character of Iblis in the Persian myth. And Joseph Campbell talked about the story of Iblis as God's greatest lover. That originally God made the angels and told the angels to bow only to him. And then he made man, Adam, and told them to bow to Adam. Well, Iblis wouldn't bow to Adam because he couldn't. He could only bow to God. So God, being the fucking dickhead that he is, had said, go to hell. And that the way Iblis sustains himself in hell is the memory of God's voice saying, go to hell. It is a story of the greatest pain you will ever feel is to be separated from one you love. It is a beautiful, if not heartbreaking, story. But it is one that it's a metaphor for the greatest pain that you will feel in life is the separation of those you love or the death of someone you love. I've heard it said that there is no greater pain a parent can feel than the death of their child. The thing is, religion has taken what could have been a beautiful metaphor and turned it into something vile, and turned it into something that no sane person would embrace. a being that would say to somebody that is saying, I can't bow to them because I can only bow to you, it would be, get away from me. You're a fucking dick. You don't deserve anyone bowing to you. And that does spark my anger. And that's the thing with the anger in me. If there is outrage at something, it can come like that. I don't even think about it. It happens. It's instantaneous. When I come across something that is disgusting, revolting, that I have to oppose it on moral and ethical grounds, I can't not have my anger flash at that. And I sure as fuck am not going to be laughing about it. The idea that a person is not supposed to show anger. Anger is not a bad emotion. It's how you use it. It's why you have it. It's why you use that emotion. Anger can be a very good thing. It can motivate you to bringing about a positive change. Anger at slavery is what brought about the ending of slavery. Anger at how homosexuals are treated is what is bringing about the ending of that abusive behavior towards them. Anger at an injustice can bring about a solution to the injustice. You Christians that want to be, and New Age jack-offs that want to be all peace and love and all, that's not going to bring about the change. That's not going to be, and to use the term, the adjutant, the fire that brings about the change in society, that brings about the change in consciousness. Because sometimes you need someone to rattle your fucking cage to get you to think. And I am very willing and very capable of rattling fucking cages. Now, I also recognize there are people that on YouTube and so forth, and not just YouTube, but all over the internet and in life, that will put on a face and they'll pretend to be embracing this new age bullshit, or they babble about a Jesus or a God when really they don't believe it themselves, thinking more like these Joel Osteens, that they are looking at it more as a business. They're looking at it as, I can make a lot of money doing this. I might not necessarily believe it myself, but if I play the game, if I play the role, if I pretend and say what these people want to hear, I'll have a lot of followers. I'll have people giving me money. I recognize if I would dress up and use this new age bullshit and blow smoke up people's ass about this prosperity bullshit, fantasy thinking, that I could probably have thousands, if not tens of thousands of subscribers. The thing is, I couldn't live with myself if I did. I have too much honor, too much self-respect to sell out who I am for this subscribers. And that was one of the other things that this one jack-off had tried with people. And I will say this for everybody. I value my subscribers and I like you guys. But I do not appreciate, and I will not respond well to, someone that is trying to hold the I didn't subscribe to you over my head like a fucking prize. I don't care. Someone that wants to try and act like they're subscribing to me, they're doing me a favor. No, actually, if you're subscribed to me, it's because you're interested in what I'm saying, not because you're wanting to throw me a bone. I don't want people subscribed to me that are fake. I recognize there are some that don't care. Fake, real. They wouldn't care. They're interested in the numbers type of thing. I want real people, because I hope the videos that I do that address subjects, I would like for comments and so forth to follow the subject. Because maybe there are things that you can think of in a discussion with somebody else that will be something that I hadn't thought of, or that somebody else hadn't thought of it that way, and that people can learn. And then we're all benefiting. That there is the video aspect, but in the comments, the different people view things from different ways. And that is why when I have people that are trolling, I'm not going to put up with it. And it doesn't matter to me if they're trolling me or trolling somebody else. I will not put up with it, because someone that is just going around doing the personal attack shit and not addressing a subject, you're not adding to anything. You have no value as far as in the comments. You're just a pain in the ass. And someone like that, I will get rid of them. I don't care if they have subscribed to me. If they're a pain in the ass and they're subscribed to me, they're going to be gone. Because I don't like people that are a pain in the ass. It doesn't matter if they're wanting to kiss my ass. I'm not after that. That's not what I'm about. I don't need this for my ego. I don't want my ego to get involved with YouTube or anything on the internet. Because when I'm talking to people, when I'm doing interviews, it's not about my ego. It's about the subject. Like the interviews with Mark Powers, even though I don't believe in the God, and I do feel that the theistic mindset is a negative one, I also want the truth to be getting out there, especially where Christians want to try and say that they're based on Judaism. I want to show where they're flat out lying. And I had said to Mark, there are some that could watch my videos and look at it as, holy crap, I don't want to be a Christian, but Judaism makes more sense. Fine. I also recognize there are some that may look at it and go, if Christianity's not right, then I don't buy any of this. Okay, fine. The conclusion someone comes to, that's on them. That's up to them. It's not about what I'm trying. All I'm doing is presenting information, presenting ways of thought. I'm not going to tell you what to think. In a sense, you're a grown man or a grown woman. You're capable of reaching your own conclusions. You don't need me to think for you. I don't want to do it, and I won't do it. All I will do is present information, present a point of view. Whether you like it or not, that's up to you. Whether you want to run with it or not is up to you. In a sense, I'm a messenger of information. I'm not the one that's trying to be, look at me, look how even the YouTube personality. My ego is not involved in this. Do I have an ego? Yes, everyone does. But I try as best I can to keep that separate from what I do on YouTube. Now, for those that have looked at, I did change my banner recently on my page to the Good and Kinky Show from the prophecy shitting on free will. Because when I originally founded the channel that I have for this YouTube channel, I had termed it the Good and Kinky, Mr. Good and Kinky, based on my initials. I hadn't at the time thought of it as an internet radio show, but that is something that I am thinking I do want to get back to. And I largely because of looking at what my audience that you guys like seeing and the calendars and so forth. And even I can point out the pictures that I do periodically of stuff like this, or where I have videos that are screenshots with audio. and it's more of a slideshow or a PowerPoint type of presentation. And I use cleavage and so forth. And I'm very careful when I choose pictures for that the dreaded nipple is not showing. Yeah, we all know how bad the fucking nipple is. Ooh. But I'm very careful in what I choose for videos. Like the last video on the nature, if nature is God. I wasn't initially going to use the picture that I did of the naked woman at the creek type of thing. I was going to do a more animated type of picture. But when I saw that one, that's suggestive and it gets the point across. Yes, it is a naked woman. You're not seeing anything really. But it's also one, I'm not offended by the naked body. And also, I don't pitch my channel, and I don't think even YouTube would pitch my channel to kids. I'm not, because the subjects that I talk about, I don't see a little kid being all that interested, because it's not shoot 'em up, bang 'em up. It's not comedy. It's not cartoony. So in that regard, it's more intellectual to topic wise. So I don't see a kid being drawn to someone like me. I recognize that. And in that regard, I realize, in a sense, my target audience is more of 18 to on. There could be some that are teenagers, like 16, so forth, that would be watching my videos because of things that they're interested in, topics and so forth. And in that regard, what they would see, what you'll see in my videos, be it slideshows or calendars, the pictures would be nothing more provocative than you could see in summertime. It's not a matter of, because of the standards and guidelines with YouTube, there isn't I can't be showing naked women and so forth. And typically I'm not even going to the aspect of the male body, but it's one I would have no problem if a subject would warrant it, using more, to use the term, risque pictures of male models. I'm not opposed to it. It's not my thing, but I also recognize if it would fit the subject and the audience would want to see it or would be receptive to it, I would do it. Because I am all about freedom. I'm very big on personal freedom, personal choice. And this is a test of the live aspect, because coming up on Friday, the 20th, I will be doing a debate with a friend of mine on the subject of guns. And that will be him and I going back and forth on the subject of guns. Now, for those that are interested in that, I am going to take a more anti-gun approach, even though my position regarding guns and people owning guns is very much based on, like, the Second Amendment and on, to use the term, logic. That, and I'll put it out here now, just to, if there are people that are very anti-gun that would want to give a reason, or the reasons you have why guns should be banned completely, feel free. Put them in the comments section, or send me a message, be it on Facebook, Twitter, wherever. And I had said before about not posting that type of thing. I've reconsidered. And that is something in the description bar of this video will be a link to my Facebook page, as well as to the Good and Kinky fan page and the Occult Think Tank fan page, as well as my Twitter for Mr. Good and Kinky. I don't really log into my Occult Think Tank Twitter too much at this point, but I could down the line. But if you have questions, by all means, shoot them at me, and I will be sure to include them in what we're talking about. Because in that debate, I am going to set it up more of the actual type of debate. We're just not going to have a moderator, because he will be here in a sense with me. So it won't be in a sense, two YouTube channels type of thing. Because there's a dynamic that him and I have, because him and I are like brothers. So it's one, and his name is Eric Paul. He is a bit nuts at times, and there are some funny stories that he is going to be talking about, that he has facial expressions and all that to go along with it. And the way he tells the story, he has a way of making it entertaining. But the thing with the gun subject, I am against the idea of assault rifles, assault weapons. And I'll be going into why I feel that way, as well as I'm not opposed to people owning guns but I am for the restrictions on guns, waiting periods. I would even go so far as to say psychological background checks and psychological exams. That if somebody wants to own a gun, that they should have to get basically a psych eval. Have a psychiatrist or psychologist sit down with them and figure out from the standpoint of a psychologist or psychiatrist, are they mentally sound to own a gun? Do they pose even a slim chance of going loony toony? Because things like that, I think you don't just, in a sense, give a license to someone without first having them pass tests, be it a driver's test or whatever. And the idea of if someone's using something for hunting, okay, fine. But if you need an assault rifle to go hunting, you suck as a hunter and you should give it up. Because if you need 166 rounds a minute in order to hunt, face it, you're like me, you suck. Give it up. But that's more of Friday and the discussion that we'll have, because I'm sure he'll have different ways of presenting ideas. And it's one I hope that it's a conversation that, in a sense, will spark other points of view. And because that's why we're doing it. It's not just about to try and resolve the issue, because we're not gonna. This issue, it's like the abortion issue. It's been going on for a hell of a long time, and it's going to continue to go on. But this is something that I want to have him and I have a discussion about, because he's also big into the libertarian political party. Now, typically in my channel, I don't talk about politics, but I'm not opposed to going there. I had also mentioned to him if the viewer interest would be there for like the dynamic between him and I about creating a YouTube channel just for, in a sense, conversations and videos that him and I do, either together or him doing a video or whatnot, and it being more of a collaboration in person of things that him and I do, especially with me being more of the serious type of voice, and one could even say the voice of reason, and him being more the voice of anarchy and zaniness, that we could work well, the dynamic could be well. But it's one I'm really interested in what thoughts you have as a listener, because it's going to come down to the way I'm seeing this is I'm not seeing comments as I'm doing the show. So it's one of the questions and so forth would have to be things that I would have in front of me before the show, so that I could go through and be, all right, I'm going to be answering this, this, and this. But this is, in a sense, a trial run, a test run of the live aspect. And if you would be interested in seeing this as a weekly series, even, I would figure out, in a sense, what day of the week would be a good day of the week for me to do the live type of show. It's difficult with my job because of my schedule's constantly flip-flopping. It would be nice if they would have a fixed set schedule that I'm off these set days and so forth, but that's just not the way it goes. So, in a sense, the live aspect would be, as I'm seeing it, a weekly, almost hit or miss, but it would be, I could do a weekly type of thing. It would just depend on, it might be a Monday one week, a Tuesday, or a Wednesday the following, because of what days I would have off. Because some days they have me on a day on, day off routine. Other times, the longest stretch I've had is a 6 day in a row, which makes it difficult to do anything of this nature, because I work second shift. I work from 4 to midnight or 4 to 1 a lot of times. So feel free to leave your comments in the comment section below, and I will have the social media, my Facebook, my Twitter, my fan pages for the Good and Kinky Show and Occult Think Tank, all of that in the description bar below, that if you want to follow me or if you want to add me as a friend, feel free. Because yes, like I said, I thought about that, and I'm willing to change my position on that, because the bottom line is, if trolls will try to follow me there, try to be a friend and so forth, if someone's gonna troll me on Facebook, I can remove them and so forth just as easily as I do on YouTube. So same with Twitter. So it's not a matter of having to reserve social media. It's just one. If someone's going to be a troll, they're going to be gone. And like I said before, I'm not going to tolerate someone being a troll even to someone else. It's not going to happen. It's not that I'm trying to police my channel, but it's just one of, I'm not going to have people just trolling, or, to use the term, abusing someone because they made a comment. No. Someone expressed a point of view. You don't agree with it? Okay, fine. So what? It doesn't mean that, or even, and here's another one that had happened. One of my subscribers had remarked about, did I lose weight? And I had responded, and I recognize in text, it can be, you can lose something in it from audio to text. But what was going through my mind when he said about, did I lose weight, that he could see it in my face, it reminded me of a bit John Panette had done. That, if you haven't heard his comedy, he's very funny. That he had said about people saying to him, oh, it looks like you've lost weight. I can see it in your face. He's like, how big was my head before I began this journey? What, was I the Kool-Aid man and nobody was telling me? And I did that. And this other person, I guess they thought Daniel was trying to be a troll to me. He wasn't. I was just being a bit more of a smart ass, a bit more jovial in my response. And I let them go back and forth a little bit. But then there was one point I snapped at the guy, and he's a friend of mine. Basically, fucking cool it. And to his credit, shit stopped. Because if you don't understand the dynamic that is going on between me and somebody, even if it's somebody that I am disagreeing with, in a sense, it might be best to just sit back and watch. I don't need cheerleaders. I'm not one of these people that needs to have people defend them. I understand some will, but in a sense, don't defend me, defend a position that you agree with. I'm just the messenger. If you agree with the position I have on something, or even the way I say it, okay, fine. But recognize, and what you're defending is your position or the idea, not the person. And that's a big difference that I want to have with the way, in a sense, my subscribers are with me. That if somebody attacks me, they're attacking me. So what? If it's just an attack at me, they're childish. They have nothing. If they're talking about a subject, I would sooner focus on the subject and not the person. Because the subject is what matters, not the individual messenger. That's a big thing with me that I want to kind of get out there. But feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Later, people.